Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Call with your host, Kerry, managing broker at Remax Elite, and Heather Holliday, your social marketing nut, talking about hottest real estate topics with a little weekly activity and motivation for the week. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. And happy Monday to you, Heather. And before we get started, if you're tuning in, please drop us a line in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from, so we can say hello and give you a shout out.
For sure.
I'm sitting in my office. I should have turned the heat on before we started, but I do have my blanket on my lap.
I almost just grabbed a blanket because I have to turn off. My heaters are so loud and I've got them like all going on. And I turn them off right before we go live for the same reason. And I saw a blanket and I was like, I should really just grab a blanket. At least put over my legs or whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking at my computer. It's 45 degrees here in Melbourne. Hey, Alicia, I hope you're staying warm. Alicia's here in Melbourne, so
it's my entire Facebook feed is all the Floridians who don't know what to do. It's 29 where I am.
I had to get up this morning and have blood drawn, so I had to move Gavin's car because he parks behind me, and his windshield was covered with ice. I took that time to start my car and let it just heat up, but I could barely see pulling out of the driveway to move his car.
That's when those remote starts really help. So like Leo, when he wakes up, he just
does that
thing on, and he's already got it set to, so when he gets out of the car at night, he sets up the defroster, whatever he has to do. I don't have one, and I mean, I looked at so many Jeeps that some did, some didn't. I'm like, it's not like I have to go to, I walk to my backyard in my she shed. So it wasn't like a deal killer for me. But I know like the kids are all like bundled up and they run out. And sometimes your doors are kind of like frozen shut. That was the only time I let the kids, when we first moved up here, I let them take the day off because I didn't know how to help them get in their car because their doors were frozen. And I was like, do you put hot water on? Is that only going to make it worse? Like, and we tried to even make it so Hunter, I think finally he went in through his trunk.
Oh, goodness. Crazy.
Get into the front to turn his thing on.
Crazy. So anyway, on this chilly Monday morning, we're going to talk about the top 5 traits of a producing agent. And we have some interesting statistics for y'all. So did you know that 87% of real estate agents fail within the first 5 years of being in the business?
I mean, I think and that's only because I remember when I went to go take the test, and this was in the height, like 05, 06, probably 05.
Right.
And I had been in real estate, kind of office person that answers all the phone. And we were a very small boutique office. So I kind of helped all the agents with their transactions. So I was like transaction coordinator kind of person, I guess.
Right.
So yeah. I knew the good, the bad, and the ugly of real estate in general. And it was crazy how many people thought, oh, I'm just going to do this part-time and I'm going to make $1 million, or, I'm just going to make a quick buck on the side, yep. Not realizing. So by the end of the week, I kept throwing all these scenarios out and nobody would eat lunch with me by the end of the week because I was throwing out reality. Because I think there is an unrealistic expectation, and maybe even more now that the market's crazy.
Sure. Well, I think whenever the market is crazy, there is an unreal. People think that it just falls in our laps, and you're seeing the posts under contract in one day or multiple offers. The amount of work that actually goes into even getting it under contract in one day, and when you're getting multiple offers, and
getting a client or customer. I mean, that's also the lease.
Yeah.
That's a whole other aspect of it.
And think about if say you're in that multiple offer situation and you're one of the 10 offers and you're the one who's not accepted. Well, back to the drawing board, you got to go back and figure out how you're going to get them the next one. What was wrong with the offer that they made that'll make the next offer better. So there's a lot that goes into this, and then from contract to close, I mean, that's really where a majority of the work happens, honestly.
Right, because you're a complete problem solver, you're a therapist, and every transaction is completely different. So, I mean, that's one of the things I love about real estate in general, but it's also
Totally.
something that's, I think a lot of people, when they do go get their license, they're not they just have this unrealistic expectation. The book is black and white where everything is gray,
Right.
the entire transaction. So I think there's just a lot of the unknown when people are going to get their license.
Completely. And so in 2020, because we haven't gotten the stats for 2021 yet, although I saw some over the weekend when I was at Florida Realtors Convention, so I'll have to share those on another meeting once I go through all my slides. But in 2020, a realtor with 16 years or more of experience had a median gross income of $75,000. Now, the important thing to think about that is $75,000 is nothing to sneeze at, but that's your gross income. You have to give your brokerage their split, pay for all your fees, your insurance, your licensing, your health insurance, because we don't have the kind of job where that's included. So $75,000 isn't bad, but that's not what's in your pocket when all is said and done. And realtors with 2 years or less experience, they had a median gross income of $8,500. So it's a lot of studying, a lot of education, a lot of learning, especially in markets like these where it's super busy and super hot. The more the more you're able to structure an offer that looks good, or the more you're able to guide a seller with your experience, and not to say that in your first year or 2 or 3 or 5 or 8 even, you can't be a stellar, phenomenal agent, but it's commitment, it's devotion. It's been a lot of times. We talked about this last week, getting the permission from the people in your life to go full force into this business, especially those early years. You really need the permission from your family so that you can, and I hate to say, live, breathe, and eat real estate, really,
No, I agree, because I think it is. I mean, we've had newer agents and they've got that hustle.
Yep.
And a lot of what we're going to cover in today, they are a lot of these different traits that they have. And I think that's what really helps them, not be that statistic, for sure.
True. So the top 5 traits of a producing agent. Number 1, you're setting goals, you're writing plans, and you're executing them. And we, as you guys all know who've been watching us, we love our business planning, but we still see so many just kind of going with the flow with no direction. And you can be very successful doing it that way. But if you want continual success year after year after year, I think the goal setting, the plans, the business plan, in order to execute is super important.
Knowing your numbers. I mean, that part alone just kind of blows my mind when somebody's just doing, kind of off the cuff, just doing their thing. And yes, they're successful, but I just find we're always having room for improvement.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where, if you know your numbers, you're setting those goals against yourself. I don't know. I've always been a know your numbers kind of person, because I'm always doing the goal setting and I'm just competitive against my own self.
Yeah.
And that makes me better as a person, I feel. It
Yeah,
pushes me
I
out
agree.
of my comfort zone.
Well, and I think that's what you just said is super important. Competitive against yourself. Like that's I'm the same way. Like I want to do better than I did last time. I want to just keep reaching for the stars for me, really, rather than
There's like that quote, look in the mirror, that's your competition. And that's for me, that is, I just want to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
easy as could be.
Exactly. Number two, this is a biggie. Top trait of a producing agent, they respond quickly. Especially now, I mean, in this world where people expect an instant response, consumers expect that. They have the expectations of now. So the better you are at being responsive, the better they view you.
And because I know that's like one of the complaints you hear all the time whenever you're just talking to people in general. It's like, oh my gosh, either the agent is on spot. I know when I bought my house here, I could text. I'm always getting a response. I
Yep.
think there was only one time, and her husband, was always out of town, was in town, and she asked if she, could call me in the morning. And it's like, absolutely, but always instant
Yeah.
responses.
Yeah.
And that was huge because
And
it's,
that, yeah, and that can be hard though, because I mean, I'll be honest. If I'm on a listing appointment, I'm not answering texts or emails. But the minute I get back in my car, I'm looking at them real quick, responding real quick before I start driving, you
yeah,
know? And
yeah.
sometimes people who know me know this a lot. A lot of times I'll get a phone call or a text, but a lot of times with the phone calls, and I'll text back, I'm in a meeting, I will text you or call you as soon as I can. Just because I'm in the type of meeting where it's appropriate for me to be able to look at my phone. So I want to respond quickly, but I can't pick up, have that conversation, or really even having the text chat. But I can just give that quick response.
Well,
You
I
know.
know when we go to conventions and stuff, you're constantly on your phone, and I mean, there's been many times I just want to grab it and throw it in. It's like, we're in the middle of this. Like, come on,
I know.
enough,
I
but
mean,
it's
thank
like
goodness for
a
multitasking.
nonstop. It's like a
Thank goodness for
nonstop.
being able to multitask. But when you're focusing on something else, sometimes you miss the important stuff. So I try to prep everybody and let them know, hey, if I'm in a meeting or if I'm with another customer, I'm not going to reply. So just give me a little bit of time. But an hour, maybe 2 hours, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours later, yeah, not so great. And it's funny. One of the agents in our office gave us an office review the other day. I don't know if Karen is listening, and she said, I think it said something like 99.8% of the time, she'll get a quick reply from me. And what's funny about that, I was like, oh, she's right. And then I went through my emails, and there was an email from her that I didn't respond to because it got buried when I was in another meeting. And so, I apologized to her because every once in a while, you do miss one.
The emails are so hard because you're just,
Yeah.
it's just not, I mean, I only know that from, gosh, even therapy, recovering from surgery and just the week of Christmas, I mean, come on. And it's just, I'm still trying to, because they're like
So,
4 pages back now. It's like, I'm sorry, just send me a
so
text or something.
someone just messaged, although it doesn't say who it is, but I know who it is. She says, Kerry texted me right away on a Sunday night. That is Anna Patty Beckner. And she's right, because she's I love her, but she is famous for a Sunday night text, which is good
It's
because
hard. I
usually,
mean, and we get it because people have families and everything else, and it's, I mean, you work with the night owls or the early birds, and that's when they're getting their stuff together because during the day, especially when you have kids, your day kind of runs on their schedule. It's, you do what you can when you can.
yep,
I remember that.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Number three, set realistic expectations and don't overpromise and underdeliver.
One of
And
my
that's
biggest
why,
pet
honestly,
peeves. Woo.
that's why I say set the expectations at the first meeting or the first phone conversation or the first text conversation with that customer, whether it's a listing or a buyer, and let them know I do my best to answer as quickly as I can, but sometimes I'm with other people, and this is how I say it, I'm with other people and I'm trying to focus on them. And just as you wouldn't want me being on the phone the whole time when I'm with you, I'm not going to be on the phone the whole time when I'm with them. One of my biggest places that I do check quickly though is when I get back into the car and I'm turning the car back on, I'll scan my texts real quick just to see if there's anything I missed, or a phone call where I could just send a quick response out showing property. I'll be in touch just as soon as I can, or And then sometimes people will tell you it's super important. Can I, and I'll just say this. I love all my clients, my customers, all the agents in our office. Most of the time when they say it's super important, it is. So I take that to mean that. Um, but not always. I mean, I had a customer one night. It was Saturday night. It was 10:22 at night, and he texted me to ask me why I thought the sellers took the shower curtain that matched the bathroom paint. And in that instance, I did not respond until Sunday morning.
No, I do the same thing. Sometimes it's like, nope, this will wait until the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
just don't even want to stop.
exactly. But set realistic expectations and think of how you can exceed expectations with every transaction. Whatever that is, that'll set you apart to make that transaction. And honestly, not even in real estate, whatever your career is.
I mean, and I think that's huge, and that's where like going on the tour of oh my gosh, I just drew a blank. I think customer service, exceeding those expectations,
Mhm.
making the entire transaction of whatever you do memorable.
Yeah,
Because it's standing out, and I think that's just, I mean, think of the Starbucks and Chick-fil-A and all of that. It's all about the experience.
for sure.
I
For
mean, it's
sure.
something that you think about. Chick-fil-A doesn't have all these coupons everywhere. They're not going to accept all the coupons everywhere. They are who they are, and you may pay a little more for chicken nuggets or whatnot, but it's about that whole experience, and they don't have to dilute their value.
Right, right. Oh, look, there's Lacey Ross looking in the window at us. Maybe
Hi,
she'll come in one
Lucy.
day and join us and give us
Yeah,
some.
right.
Oh, she's shaking her head no. Oh my God. Number 4, they know their local market and community. And I have to say this, look, could I sell a house anywhere? I think I could. I think I could. But at the end of the day, I know Brevard County like the back of my hand, and I know the statistics. I look at the hot sheets every day. I'm paying attention to what's happening. It's funny, whenever I put my mother in the car to take her to a doctor's appointment, we'll drive by something and she'll point it out to me, like a new business or a new apartment or a new something. Um, we were in the car actually with my sister one day, and we're driving past new apartments, and my mother goes, there's a waiting list at that apartment complex, and some other stuff she said, which was just funny, because I'm looking at her and I'm like, you don't even leave the house, how do you know this? But she was right. She was right. And I said, actually, Mom, you are right. But sometimes she forgets that I kind of know what's going on in town.
I think that's important. I know that's something, especially for newer agents. That's one of the first things I'm telling them is, especially, if they're picking their farming areas, know everything about there. Who are the builders? How old are the homes? What's the rate of them selling, and who has, is there somebody that has 30% of the market in there? But just knowing everything about those homes and the in your area that you're looking to serve, because it really helps, especially if you're meeting with someone that doesn't know, like, and trust you.
Yep.
Knowing those stats, it shows that you're on top of what's going on in the community. The
Well,
chamber is great,
oh,
even if
that
you're
is a
not a
great,
member, but to
that is,
go to these events, the new businesses, getting to know all of the information, like you were saying, what businesses are coming in and
yeah,
all of that.
yeah, for sure. Like, what do you know where the local schools are and what's going on with those? Um, but it's like you're never just selling a house. You're selling a way of
A way
life,
of life,
selling the
always.
community. And that's, I mean, and those are, like you said, for newer agents, those are great things to know, because when you're engaging with your customers and you know this information, you sound like an expert. And you are an expert if you've
And
been
even for
studying.
the area,
Mhm.
great hidden spots to go see the rocket launches, where the manatees
I,
go when
I
it's
was just about to
cold.
say
I
right
mean,
now that
there's so
everybody
many
wants to
different
know,
things.
where do I see the manatees? That's
Yeah, I mean,
perfect.
DeSoto, I always went to the captain's house because I was in Palm Bay. I mean, it's where I even had like my little wedding party and everything, because you know the trick. never fed them because apparently there's a sign that says you're not supposed to, but they love cabbage.
I
But the trick, you just slap the water and boom, they're like all right there. So
yeah.
there's different things for your area. What are these hidden gems that not everybody knows about?
Hmm.
Because you are selling that way of life. There's so many different things that you should know. It just as a
Yeah.
local, and if you're not, find out these
Start
spots.
learning. Yeah, start learning it. If you've just moved into whatever community you've just moved into, say, I mean, this is different because I started selling real estate when I was living in Connecticut, and then I moved back here and I grew up here. So, but things had changed in the 10 years I had been gone. I mean, back when I was a kid, part of Wickham Road was still a dirt road. Now, granted, it was not a dirt road when I left, but when I came back, before I left, there was no Vieira, and then I came back and there was Vieira. So I mean, and
I
I can
remember
understand.
as I don't know how old I was. I must have been 17, 18, and my car broke. And it basically was able to get off of 95 to the exit at Wickham.
Uh,
And I was able to just go to that McDonald's. And so I had 35 cents, enough to make a pay phone. So no cell phone. And I had to wait for like my dad to come in and save me. But the only thing there was the Hilton, or I think
yeah,
that's Hilton, right?
Holiday Inn.
Holiday Inn, the McDonald's, and Wendy's.
Yep,
That was it. It was
yep.
nothing but trees everywhere. So of course I had to
There was
call.
nothing until you got to the Publix at Wickham
Right.
and
There was
Interlochen.
nothing. So I
Yeah.
just luckily glided into the McDonald's and had to smell French fries for 3 hours. And I had no money because it was like, well, I can't even buy a French fry with 35 cents, but I can make a call.
Well,
Phone dad, help
it's
me.
funny. I mean, I grew up in Northeast Palm Bay, and generally, when depending on where you grew up, our beach was in the Atlantic, right? So we went over the 192 bridge to Fifth Avenue, and that was the beach, or down to Mel Beach, where we'd go to the beach. Going to Cocoa Beach was like a day trip in my mind. Like, I wasn't allowed to go as a kid. It was drive there because it was too far. So when I moved back and I moved into Suntree, then you start learning all the things that you didn't really know before, and even I'll be honest, I had been to the Suntree Country Club once when I was 14 for my friend's quinceañera. And then not until I moved back, and I had never like literally driven around in Suntree, but then I came back and I started learning the lay of the land again, but that's important. Know your local market. Even I have a new customer and he's moving from Virginia, in a part of Virginia where the market's super slow. I think it took maybe 18 months to sell his house, but it was a big piece of property, etc. He thinks it's the same here, right? So he tells me last week he's flying down on Monday to see a new listing that came on the market, and I'm thinking it's not going to be there by Monday. And sometimes when you tell people that, when they don't know you yet, they think you're trying to, push
them and stuff like that. Yeah.
So it went under contract, just like I said, on Friday. And then we were texting last night about it. He's not going to come today to look at it. But I had that slide of the 2021 real estate statistics from SCAR, and I could show him year over year from 2020 to 2021. It was 11 days to go under contract, what the increase in the prices were, and being able to send him that graphic so he can look at it. He was like, wow, it really is crazy there. He got it, and he understood then that I knew that I wasn't trying to push him into buying a house. I mean, honestly, that's just not. Most agents I know, that's not our gig. Here's the thing. We're going to end up with you being a customer for the rest of our lives, hopefully. And hopefully you're going to refer us to friends and family and neighbors. And if you have a good experience because I pushed you into some house, that we're not going to continue to have a relationship. We'd much rather have the referral, like we talk about also in our business planning. Where is the majority of your business coming from? And in most cases, it's that repeat and referral business.
Right. Just like James says, your sphere, it's each person's worth $170,000 as long as you have that good transaction and stay in touch. And I know we're always giving little exercises to do all that stuff.
Exactly. And then the number 5 thing, here we go.
That was just what we were just saying.
Stay connected after the sale. when polled, consumers say they would absolutely use their agent that they used to buy their house again. The problem is that agent doesn't always stay in touch. So they may not have saved your phone number or your email. So that is so important. Make sure you have systems in place to stay in touch. And even if you're a newer agent from the beginning, it seems like, oh, I don't need a CRM yet. I only have, 4 clients or whatever it is. Start now because it'll start good habits.
Right,
And
because that's the biggest thing is you may start and then people stop, and all of a sudden now it's 5 years in,
yep,
and now the time to actually put this together, it's just like it hurts their brain. They don't even want to go there. And quite honestly, the good habits of just constantly doing that. There's so many systems that have super easy email templates, anything. I mean, same thing. The agent that I used up here was a freaking rock star. Never heard from her again. Freaking rock star. And she's not even on social to where I could have made the connection there. Where now social media makes it super easy to stay
yeah.
connected after the sale. We didn't, have that back when I was, way back.
Back when we started. Well, yeah, I mean, you were typing contracts back when we started,
On a
on
typewriter.
a
Yeah.
typewriter. Can you
We
imagine?
had to go pick out the contracts where we had to pick them up from the board because they had that, what's that black piece of paper?
Oh,
So
like the
carbon
carbon
copy
paper.
thingy.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And I swear I'm not that old.
I know, right? I mean, I wasn't even in the business when it was like that. I mean, so, and I'm older than you, but when I was in the business, we were faxing, and it was in Connecticut, which was much more smaller community where we were. You were hand delivering. You were hand delivering the contracts to the other agent.
Nope. I remember Florida Today had to come and pick up our ads. It was like
That's so
from a
great.
disposable camera on a piece of paper with what we had to write. And they had to pick it up every week.
I mean, honestly, the internet and computers, what did we do without them? Oh my gosh.
I mean, we did it, but now it's like we can get so much more done
Yeah.
because of the convenience of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
even when you think about it, and even really 5 years ago, we weren't all using professional photographers. And now that is a must, that is a must. So things have changed, and nowadays it's so much easier to stay connected after the sale. So make sure you're doing that. So just a quick recap. You're setting goals, you're writing plans, and you're executing them. Number 1, you're responding quickly, and you're setting the expectations with your customers. You're setting realistic expectations, and you're not over promising and under delivering. You're knowing your stats and your local market and your community, and you're staying connected after the sale. Yeah.
Yes. And what's the weekly activity?
Use your stuff this week to make a bold commitment to your goals and take the action to put those dreams into motion.
And then your motivation for the week is it's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like that one. That's one of my,
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we got some good stuff coming up. I think we have like a kind of like a listing marketing checklist is coming up. We've got some great stuff coming.
We do. I know we're doing
words.
We're doing a workshop, so to speak, on descriptive words and what to use. And I have to say this. Thanks for tuning in, Barbara Lynn and Tracy Candell. We appreciate you guys every week. I just have to share this though. I read a listing narrative the other day, and I've just been laughing for days now because
there's some very creative
ones.
The
person referred to this very large home as a country cottage. I'm thinking anything above 1,500 square feet, not really a cottage. And then it talked about enjoy the country lifestyle where you can still have, how did they say it? It was like, this home is in a country setting, but you still get to have your peace and quiet. And I'm like,
wouldn't that be the same?
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway,
Unless cows are just too loud. Who knows?
right. I don't give them those loud cows. But so I think that's next week, or if not, it's in a few weeks where we're going to talk about good words and writing good narratives for your list.
Absolutely. So we have some great stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Always catch the replay on MondayMorningWakeUpCall.com. Subscribe to our podcast, all that fun stuff. And until next week, wake up, kick ass, and repeat. Bye, everyone.
Bye.